Thank you so much. So I'm inspired to be here, and thank you for the introduction, Sister Helen Alford, noting the number of times peace was mentioned in the various documents. My PhD is in conflict resolution and peace building, and I teach peace studies at the University of Notre Dame. And my presentation today will be talking about the work I've done over the last 10 years to translate these peace ethics into platform design and algorithms, and now into LLM training. So really putting the onus of understanding the computer science on the social scientists, so that we can't just speak about these ethics and hope that somebody else will translate them into actually technical requirements, but we need to learn the systems ourselves. We need to be competent, somewhat literate in how these systems work so that we can make that. So I'll talk about two research projects that we're currently doing that are seeking practically to translate this. Okay, so I usually start out talking about the bad. Thank you, Dr. Wenninger, for giving some of the background on algorithms, because really, I think what has been built online with social media, and now actually with many AI systems, is a technological Tower of Babel that actually makes it more difficult for human beings to communicate with each other and to understand each other. And so this is really what we're up against. It's tremendous. And I always say, if I could choose between tech-assisted peace and democracy and no technology, I would choose no technology, because the net increase, the net impact in our world is negative. Over the last 3 years, since 2023, we held a big conference in San Francisco with 200 peace-building experts and 200 technologists from the major tech companies. And out of it, this pro-social tech design governance piece has come out, which really tries to get to the gritty of how are we going to design these technological systems to help us. Some of the big questions are thinking really about platform design, what it allows you to do, what it prevents you from doing, what it persuades you to do, what it amplifies and manipulates you to do. So really spelling those out in detail. I'm going to talk briefly about our research on AI, and specifically LLMs, large language models. And what many of us have found is that, they have built in some ethics to these systems that, LLMs mimic human communication, and often humans are not polite to each other. And so when LLMs were just learning off the internet in the wild, they were very rude and very hateful and very toxic. So they have built in politeness into that system. But politeness is not the same as really being able to have the skills in productive communication. And so our work is really trying to translate the work of conflict resolution into the mathematical predictions of how words should relate to each other in an ideal world. The last Vatican conference I was at was in Hiroshima a year ago, and I realized that many of the religious leaders in the room did not know how LLMs work, that this is about mathematical prediction, different than a search engine. So it's operating in a different way. And I think we really have to understand how these mathematical predictions work in order to be able to influence how LLMs respond and how they're able to coach people into better, healthy conflict or healthy communication styles. So we're looking at training LLMs to revive public discourse norms, because when human beings are in person, we are polite, and we have a lot more rich norms about how we should behave with each other. And those mostly go out the window when people are online. So over the last 2 years, we've done interviews, focus groups, surveys of 130 dialogue facilitators and mediators, and a complete literature review, really trying to codify our field of conflict resolution and then be able to translate this into the mathematical predictions of what is most effective in coaching people online to express their views without toxicity. And part of it is just this model of 25 different strategies for protecting public discourse norms. And now we're in the process of not just mapping those, but ranking them so that mathematically they can be codified online. So that's the first research project we're doing. The second one is on deliberative technologies. This is a class of platforms that have been specifically designed and built to support democratic, participatory, interactive exchange between humans on contentious policy issues. So it's the large scale. So we're talking about thousands of people talking with each other in an iterative way, not just one dialogue, but coming back week after week. What's unique about them is they focus on the issues and not identities. So unlike social media, there's no reply button on these platforms. People post mostly anonymously on ideas, and those ideas get ranked. This is one of the major platforms called Polis. You can see what it looks like here. And basically there's agree, disagree, pass. So people are voting on their preferences, but there's also then, unlike a poll, participants add their own ideas, and then other people can agree, disagree, pass. Other platforms that are deliberative are designed in a little bit of a different way. But basically, participants get to see how their views relate to other views and then shift their views. And what people are finding is actually before and after surveys that people do change how they think based on exposure to a more diverse set of ideas. Then the platform uses AI to generate these sort of summaries of what's happening in this conversation. So unlike in the past, when as a mediator, I would have to go into a back room for hours and look through all of what everyone said, this is generated automatically. A summary of what was divisive in the conversation, a summary of what the majority believed on, what they were agreeing with. So you can quickly get the read of the room of thousands of people, which is extremely helpful for sort of scaling democratic participation of issues. So I would say this is bringing together sort of specialist intelligence, collective intelligence, which is the wisdom in the crowds, and artificial intelligence, and really seeing the need for these to go together. This has already been scaled. Taiwan and Finland are two countries that have been making policy decisions with deliberative platforms, Polis and specifically. In Taiwan, it's Audrey Tang who is leading, well, who started that. And now in Finland, it's a platform called Citra, which is using Polis to have public conversation. We're translating this into peace-building context. At the University of Notre Dame, we have a project on peace and development in Afghanistan. I myself was working on the Afghan peace process between 2009 and 2012. And now I'm involved with a variety of Afghans looking at how to have what we call a digital shura. So using Polis and another platform, Remesh, to host conversations between Afghans in the diaspora. Now there's over 5 million Afghans living in countries all over the world. How do we promote sort of inclusive governance? And that's what they're talking about. They're building constitutional principles for a future of Afghanistan that's not possible right now, but we want to be ready for the opportunity to have that democratic, inclusive. And then in Israel-Palestine, this is actually just in from the last month, where we've been using a platform called Remesh AI to have this participatory deliberation with Israelis, Palestinians, and also in the US population. And just over the last month, Remesh was active in the Gaza Strip with Palestinians in the West Bank and in Israel also. And this is just one of the many slides. Israelis support a regional deal with the Palestinian state. And so when this poll was basically delivered, this influence, we believe, the Trump administration's agreements over the last couple weeks. A similar poll using Remesh, again, this is deliberative, so it's allowing it to be a bit more dialogical. We also found that American voters want President Trump to push back against annexation. So here, these were not questions that political leaders were asking, but we thought there was an opportunity. And if we would provide these numbers, that they would perhaps, change actually the political calculation of what was being discussed diplomatically. If you want to read the whole polls, you can look at the slide deck on the left, the full slide deck of the Alliance for Middle East Peace, worked with Remesh AI on that set of conversations online. And if you want to see more of Polis, you can scan there on the right. Thank you very much.